In the last video, we started off by giving you a quick look at the top section of the interface. Now we'll take some time to look over the generator section. This is perhaps the most important section of Morphine's interface, as it controls the sounds themselves. I'm going to start with a fresh palette. I can do this by left-clicking on the Program section and choosing to reset. If I play anything now, while it's in this state, all I will get is silence. This is because there are no harmonics set up. So I'll set up my first harmonic. If I set it up so that the first bar is set to the maximum value, with the rest of the level set to 0, this creates a single sine wave as a frequency that is known as the fundamental. This would be similar to just using a subtractive synth and selecting the sine wave waveform. It would produce the same results. A typical example for a use of a single sine wave sound would be for a sub-bass sound. To create more complex sounds than this, you can then add further harmonics based on this fundamental. And as I mentioned in the introduction video, all of these harmonics as a group are known as the breakpoint in Morphine. By default, any edits that you make to the amplitude are only applied to an individual harmonic. However, it is possible to select groups of harmonics using this tool control. You can choose to select an order, the odd or even harmonics, or also choose to only affect every third, fourth, or fifth harmonic. Alternatively, you can also choose from any of the 4 filters that are available for use. Filter 1 starts off by effecting a narrow band of harmonics, and with increments, the width of the effected frequencies gets wider. The harmonic amplitudes themselves are not the only parameters that go together to make up an individual breakpoint. There are other controls as well that can be accessed by clicking on these buttons here. And in these areas, you can create another series of yellow bars, each of which will correspond to the equivalent harmonic in the amplitude section. These individually control the panning, the detuning, velocity, and the window of each individual sine wave that you have set up in the amplitude section. Whereas the amplitude controls the volume of each harmonic, the detune controls the tuning. This allows you to change the individual frequency of each harmonic. The controls themselves allow you to detune the harmonics from the previous harmonic up to the next harmonic. This is useful when you're attempting to recreate specific sounds, especially those of real instruments. Panning allows you to move the sine waves around in the stereo field. This allows a far detailed control than the standard pan control, since each individual harmonic can be placed within its own position in the stereo field. Both the detune and panning controls can be limited in range by using both of these controls here in the control range section. If you have this set at maximum, then settings will work exactly as they're shown in the window here. As you lower the control though, then the ranges of detuning and panning are lowered accordingly, until the 0 point, at which time the settings in the window here will have no effect on the original sound. The window parameter allows you to apply a global volume control for your harmonics across all breakpoints in a spectrum. Below the control range section, you can find the pulse width modulation filter. This control would either add or subtract a second voice to the sound. In Morphine, because of the way in which it produces a sound, the use of a second voice is not necessary. This can be used to create unison, phasing, or chorus type effects. The rate control is used to adjust the modulation speed, and the phase control adjusts the phase of the modulation cycle. It is possible to control the modulation cycle further by selecting to have it run freely or run in time with any notes. With free mode on, the modulation runs continuously and independently of any notes played, With free mode off, a new modulation cycle starts with each key press. The latter provides a more consistent sound with each key press. This video covered on how to create a breakpoint, and in the next section, we'll look at how to turn a series of breakpoints into a spectrum.